Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special Talk to Georgian live chat. My name is Jenny Thompson. I am the social media specialist here at Georgian College. And today is September 30th, which is Orange Shirt Day. You might be wondering, what is Orange Shirt Day? Why am I wearing orange? How does it relate to Canada's residential school system? Or maybe what is the residential school system here? What was the residential school system here? And why is it important for people to know about its legacy? As well, what can non-Indigenous people do to honor residential school survivors beyond Orange Shirt Day as well? So we're going to tackle all those questions as well. So in just a minute, we are going to be bringing in Emma Greenfield. She is our Indigenization Assistant at Georgian's Indigenous Services. So if you do have any kind of questions, please post them down below and we will do our best to get through them today. And we hope you are wearing orange today to join us. So before we jump in, I just want to give another shout out to our website as well, because we typically do get questions during our live chats about other topics as well. So we are just focused on Orange Shirt Day today, but if you do have other questions, we do want to support you. So please visit our website. It's georgiancollege.ca. There's tons and tons of resources on there, including what we're talking about today, Indigenous Services, Indigenous Studies, and more information about what we offer at all of our campuses. As well, you'll find more information about studying remotely and how we can best support you, as well as fall and winter intakes, and our COVID-19 updates page as well that has tons of information on there for domestic and international students. So a lot of commonly asked questions are answered on there. So definitely check that out. Awesome. So now we are going to be bringing in Emma Greenfield. Again, she is our Indigenization Assistant with Georgian's Indigenous Services. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, I'm so happy to join. You can hear me okay? See me okay?
Yeah, we're all good. So I wanted to I think Indigenous Services might be new to some of our participants as well. So maybe we can start there. So can you tell us a little bit about what Georgian's Indigenous Services is all about and what it typically offers?
Yeah, sure. So the Indigenous Resource Center at Georgian College is where students can receive a variety of cultural supports, as well as access to traditional workshops and teachings that are really available for the Georgian community as a whole, as well as academic support and counseling for Indigenous students at Georgian. And normally these supports would be offered in the center on campus in person, but we still are able to offer these supports and teachings virtually.
Okay, awesome. And maybe I know we were going to talk a little bit about how to get in touch a bit later, which we can touch on again. But if somebody does want to get in touch, what would be the best way to do that?
Yeah, so depending on like what exactly it is that you're looking for, you can always go on to Georgian College's website, and we do have a page that specifically talks about indigenization at Georgian. But for general inquiries, I would suggest reaching out to Sandy, who's the Academic Program Support Officer for Indigenous Services. And I know that you'll do your magic and be able to put Sandy available.
There you go.
Yeah, so any general inquiries, I would reach out to Sandy.
Okay, and there's her contacts there for Indigenous Studies or Services, and she can definitely get you some more information or take you to where you want to go. I'll show you as well. You had mentioned the website, so at georgiancollege.ca, and actually, if you go under Student Life tab and then under Student Services, you'll find Indigenous Services. Awesome. So if you click on there, it'll take you to this website, and there's lots more information on here. Sort of a breakdown if you want to learn more about the academic programs or initiatives or indigenization at Georgian, all kinds of stuff. So there's lots of resources here for anyone who's curious or interested or just wants to take another look.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Cool. Yeah, so let's jump right in. So it's Orange Shirt Day. We are looking our finest in our orange. And so tell us, what is Orange Shirt Day?
Sure. So, Orange Shirt Day is a day that we honor Indigenous survivors of residential schools. Orange Shirt Day is looked at as a collective act of reconciliation. It's an opportunity to raise awareness about the history and legacy of residential schools. The orange shirt that we wear actually represents like a real orange shirt that was taken from a residential school survivor, so Phyllis Webstad, who began the Orange Shirt Day Society. So when Phyllis Webstad started her first day at residential school, her grandmother had gifted her a brand new orange shirt. And Phyllis, who was very excited to start her first day of school, as young children usually are, wore her brand new orange shirt to school. But upon arrival at the residential school, the shirt was taken from her. That orange shirt was taken from her and replaced with the school's uniform. And so that orange shirt is really symbolic of other things that was taken from Phyllis Webstad upon her arrival at these schools, as well as the many other Indigenous children who entered into residential school. So language, culture, and identity were something that were all things that were taken from children upon their arrival. So it's
Yeah.
both representative of a real orange shirt, but also symbolic of other things as well.
And why is it on September 30th?
So September 30th is around the time of year that Indigenous children would be removed from their communities, removed from their families to be taken to residential schools. So it really was a sad time for children, for their families, and for their communities. So that's why September 30th is the chosen day to acknowledge their experience.
Mm. And so, yeah, it's hard to know because we have participants from all over, and hard to know their familiarity with all of this. So maybe we can break down a bit about that, about what residential school was, and sort of why that's, or what's important for people to know about its history and its legacy here in Canada.
Of course. So I think one of the most important things for Canadians or for all people to really understand is the purpose behind residential schools. So residential schools were Canadian government funded and church run institutions. There were 130 of them from coast to coast in Canada. And their main purpose was to assimilate First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, so Indigenous children, to European and Christian ways. It's also really important to understand that there was a time when attendance at these schools were enforced by Canadian law. So I think that that is very important to understand. And since the last one has closed in 1996, there have been a lot of Indigenous people who came forward speaking about their experiences in these schools, and their experiences were laden with like abusive acts at the hands of the instructors at the schools or the religious leaders as well. So I think that's also really important to understand that their experiences weren't typical of what we would have experienced in schools today. I also think that it's really important for people to understand that although the last school closed in 1996, which really isn't that long ago, it's in my lifetime. The legacy of these schools still impact Indigenous people today. An example of this is that there are more Indigenous children in the child welfare system today than there ever were in residential schools. And in residential schools, there were over 150,000 children who entered into them. So although residential schools are considered a dark chapter in Canadian history, it's important to understand how colonization still impacts Indigenous people today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those effects are still continuing for sure.
Absolutely. But it's also important to celebrate and honor Indigenous people's resilience and cultural resurgence in spite of this history as well. So it's really about acknowledging the history and legacy of residential schools, but also like finding the really cool, awesome things that Indigenous people are doing for themselves and for their communities today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what can non-Indigenous people do as well, just to even raise more awareness about this history and the legacy of residential school? We're wearing orange today and we're honoring this today, but what can we do even past September 30th?
Yeah, I think the most important thing to do is to first educate yourself. There are many ways you can do this. There's tons of books and articles or documentaries that you can watch. Talk to your family, talk to your friends, your classmates, your teachers about what you're learning through these books and by watching these documentaries. I think the most important thing is to just talk about it. Talk about it on this day, but of course beyond this day as well. Another thing that you can do is familiarize yourself with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada's calls to action that were created in response to the experiences of residential school survivors. There are calls to action for every Canadian. So whether you're in health or you're in law, social work, education, there are calls to action for everyone. So I think that's a really important step that people can take beyond Orange Shirt Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think our library does have access to some of that material, and we actually do have it for anyone who's interested on the homepage of georgiancollege.ca right now. There is an article up there about some ways that you can honor Orange Shirt Day, and there are direct links to the report and all of that stuff. So some good resources there to check out.
Awesome.
And speaking of resources as well, I wanted to talk to you about that. So you mentioned there's tons out there. What are a few recommendations for, some books or films or whatever, what have you, that you'd recommend people check out?
Sure. So I would always recommend first starting off with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission summary report. It's a really good place to start because it really dives into the history leading up to residential schools, talks about residential schools. You'll read testimonies from survivors, and you'll also see the 94 calls to action that I had just spoken about that came as a result of the commission traveling around Canada and collecting the stories from residential school survivors. It looks like a really thick book, but most of it is a lot of pictures and a lot of like appendix. So you'll see like this much is appendix. So it's not an academically challenging book to read, but of course an emotionally challenging book to read. And there's a free PDF of it available online. So it's available in bookstores or in the Georgian College library, but it's also available for free online. So I would definitely recommend starting with that. And then also I would suggest Richard Wagamese' Indian Horse. There's a film that came out a few years on this book. It is about a little boy who goes to residential school. So I would suggest this as a book. In terms of documentaries that you can watch, so there's a ton of documentaries that you can watch for free on YouTube. You would just need to search residential schools. I would recommend starting with Wawate, Stories of Residential School Survivors. There's also a website called Where Are the Children? And they have a ton of videos of survivors talking about their experience, so I would suggest that as well. I would also recommend the film They Came For Us, which again can actually be accessed for free through Georgian College's online library. So yeah, those are my suggestions. There's so many more out there, so I would just look for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's bound to, you try something out and it leads you to something else. And I'm sure Indigenous Services too, if you need any other ideas, you can reach out to them.
Absolutely.
And so I know it, so in January of this year, Orange Shirt Day was actually on the Canadian federal government's agenda to declare as a statutory holiday. But nothing has moved forward with that right now. So can you tell us more about that? Why hasn't this been something that's happened?
So yeah, it's pretty cool to think that Orange Shirt Day was actually on the federal government's agenda to declare as a statutory holiday, but it was because of COVID-19 and the pandemic that there are, of course, like new priorities. But who knows? Maybe this time next year we'll have a different answer. So it's definitely seems to be in the works, which is really a really great opportunity for people to actually be able to take time to honor and to commemorate residential school survivors, and also to learn about residential school history as well.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, yeah, COVID-19 has affected so many different things. I know we talk about that often in our live chats, no matter what the topic. And normally we can get together, where we could actually be in the same room with our orange shirts and a group of other people and, talk about things and have events and stuff for it. But obviously that's different this year. So what are some ways that all of us can still support Orange Shirt Day, but virtually?
Yeah, so a good place to start is orangeshirtday.org. Which is the official website for Orange Shirt Day. They have an events page. It's organized by provinces and territories, but of course, because everything's virtual, there's a lot of them that are just available for anyone to access. So I would start there. There are plenty of organizations and institutions that are hosting online events that have guest speakers. So if you just Google Orange Shirt Day events, you should be able to find tons of virtual events that are happening throughout the day and even throughout the week as well.
Perfect. Awesome. I think this is like our quickest chat ever. I think we're gonna sort of leave it there.
Awesome.
But let's reiterate some of that information too. If anyone does want to follow up with Indigenous Services or learn more about Orange Shirt Day or get some more resources or whatever it is, how would they do that?
Yep. So general inquiries, I would suggest reaching out to Sandy, who's the Academic Program and Support Officer for Indigenous Services. If you can want to pull up her email so people can write it. That's great.
Awesome. So yeah, you can definitely reach out to Sandy there.
Yep.
As I mentioned, there's also the article on today on our website, georgiancollege.ca, if you want to learn more on there. And I'll just show you again where to find some more information on our website. So georgiancollege.ca, under Student Life and Student Services, you'll find Indigenous Services. So if you go there, you'll get to this page and you can find a whole bunch more information, you know, about our academic programs. And can you tell who lives in Toronto?
You hear that often outside my
Indigenous initiatives, Indigenization at Georgian, all kinds of stuff good there. So it's always good to just check it out and see what we have to offer. We do have have it available to all students and our community, as Emma said. So yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Emma, for taking the time to join us today.
Oh, thank you so much. It was so nice seeing you, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and yes, ask questions and look for resources and just start the conversation. So yeah, I'm really I'm really happy to see everyone that joined us, and I look forward to seeing everyone hopefully in the future.
Yeah, one day.
One day.
All right, take care.
Take care. I'm on P.
Thanks so much to Emma for joining us today. And thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us today. I know this was a quick chat today, but we do have lots and lots of resources on our website. Again, in our Instagram stories as well, flip through those. We have links to some more information there. If you missed any of the questions or want to go over any of this information again, we are going to be posting this live chat to our Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube accounts, as well as on our website, georgiancollege.ca. And then tomorrow we're going to be back with another live chat at our usual time, which is Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So tomorrow's chat on October 1st is actually going to be about Georgian's upcoming online convocation and what to expect with that. So if you're graduating or know someone who's graduating this fall, definitely tune into that or let them know. And in the meantime, we just want to say a great big thank you to everybody who participated today. It really does mean a lot to us that you've joined us today to learn more about Orange Shirt Day and the legacy of residential schools here in Canada. Please share this Q&A with your friends and your family and help our college community really continue to honor residential school survivors beyond just September 30th. So thank you so much again. We will see you tomorrow for our next chat, and stay safe and take care of everybody. And we'll see you then. Bye for now.